So thanks for waiting. Here we are. So hi Hans, I had a lovely chat with Hans this morning, which was great.
Hands free.
Hans Steinke.
Hans Steinke here.
Hands free. Oh, you're too witty for your own good, James Merkin.
Come on, get with the program, Tim.
Get with it. I'm not with it. I'm not with it at all. I'm without it.
Yeah.
So it seems as though you've got a lot to lose. That's what I always say. You know, I've got quite a lot. I've accumulated quite a lot, particularly my knowledge and my beliefs and my understanding. Me holds those things most dear. My identity is really, you know, my meanness is really, really fond of my precious ideals, my strengths and my weaknesses, you know, all the labels that I've labeled myself. So this message isn't saying that those labels have to go. That's, I think there's quite a lot of misunderstanding about that the labels are the problem, that the problems are the problem. The problems aren't the problem. You know, the bits of life that you say are a problem, well, that's a problem in my life. That's not a problem. The problem is your life, that life is yours, that the problems are yours. That's the problem. They're not yours. Of course, life has problems. Life is wild, it's free, it's random, it's anarchic. It doesn't adhere to any rules. The rules of life are just what we've made up, that me has made up. And then, of course, we call anarchy. The anarchists are the ones who don't adhere to the rules that, you know, that the mainstream me's have decided are, well, these are actually the rules. These are the real rules. These are the ones you have to stick to. Well, there just aren't any. But anarchy as a belief is just another rule, isn't it? So I'm not advocating being an anarchist. I'm just saying there aren't any rules other than the ones that you've told yourself and that you've been told by other me's, that this is a rule, that this is important, that this is how it should be. Life hasn't heard any of those. Life couldn't give a shit about your rules. Life's not listening. Life doesn't even hear that. This doesn't hear that there are rules. It couldn't care less. And so it can sound, so this message can sound nihilistic. It can sound cold, but it's exactly the opposite. It's the rules are the imprisonment, and the rules and self are one and the same. Rules are always my rules. What I say goes. And life doesn't say anything. Life is quiet. Life is silent. Don't get me wrong, it makes all the noise. All the noise is silence. So what we take is, you know, the words, and the silence is empty. So all these words are empty, along with everything else. And in that emptiness, there's no meaning or purpose or point or path or journey. There's nowhere to get to. And although for me that's dreadful, more than dreadful, unthinkable, unimaginable, that is how life is. This is how life is. You are saying otherwise. You are saying life could be different. And it's very simple that it couldn't be different. And the reason it couldn't be different is it's not any different, is it? That's it. That's the whole message. There isn't, is life different from it is? It's not, is it? It's simply as it is. And as it is, it can't be argued with. The arguments come when I say, yeah, well, okay, it is as it is, but that's wrong. And there's the judgment. There's me in all my glory saying, I know how life should be. What the hell? Where do you get off on saying how life should be? Who the hell do you think you are saying how life should be? What arrogance? What arrogance is self? You know, you're no more than a leaf on a tree or a blade of grass or a raindrop. The difference between a raindrop and you is that you say you know how life should be. And you've got some great ideas about how you can make it better. That's the difference. And in that, I know how I could make my life better, and I can make the world a better place. For God's sake. I mean, as if you could. In that is all suffering. All suffering is, I am powerful, I am in control. That's the great lie, the great illusion, the great delusion. I delude myself that I am in control. It's just a fiction. A very, very powerfully convincing delusion, but delusion it is. Life is always just as it is. And you don't need any evidence for that. This is self-evident. This is all the evidence you need. Life being as it is. That's it. And then the questions become, even if there are still questions, the questions become irrelevant. And if they're irrelevant, you may stop being interested in them at all. You'll probably stop being interested in other people's questions first. Yours are much more important, of course, but it might be it might be that even your great questions, your burning questions, they might run out of gas. They might lose their energy. You could go, well, you know, just questions, so what? Will the answers bring me what I want? Will they make this better? No, of course not. There is no better. This is as it is. That's it. No better or worse. No higher or lower. No deeper or shallower. No forwards or backwards. Completely still, unmoving, silent. Silence sounding, stillness moving. You won't know. You don't need to know. That need to know is your struggle, is your suffering, is your pain, is your burden, is your cross to bear, that you need to know. This needs no knowing to be completely known. Shit, I was on a roll there.
Was.
What do you think, James? What do you reckon to that? Don't answer.
I won't then. Okay.
No, answer. Yeah, go on, answer.
It's good.
Good. It's not good. It's not bad. It's good, bad, ugly, beautiful, shitty, wondrous, ordinary, extraordinary. It's everything. That's it. It's anyhow and all how. Anyway and always. That's it.
Is it irrelevant?
It's relevant and relevant. Irrelevance and relevance become irrelevant. Are irrelevant. Who's the one who needs relevance? My mum's answering the questions.
What did she say?
Self. God, she's heard this shit too many times. My
She's on
mum is
message.
now answering the questions that I asked. She shut the door but I could still hear her. Don't answer the questions, just keep the coffee coming. Yeah. So I feel a little bit, you might tell, I feel a little bit high. I think it was the adrenaline of not being able to get on the Zoom and then thinking, oh yeah, people are waiting in the room. So you get a little bit of an adrenaline rush. So I'm high as a kite, really. I haven't taken any drugs other than caffeine. Oh, and some nicotine as well. I've had some of that.
How much caffeine?
Yeah, I've been drinking coffee all day. I've been doing some writing today, so a lot of that tirade you just heard, that was what I've been writing today. But I will say about the words, so I know you think you choose the words that come out of your mouth. You so don't. And there's one of the reasons we could call what we're talking about liberation is liberation from the one who is conscious of the words that is being spoken. That's self-consciousness. So I'm worried I might say the wrong thing. I want to get this right, so I'll just keep quiet. That self-consciousness is shit, isn't it? Really shit. And yeah. So the words freely come out, spilling out randomly, meaninglessly, effortlessly. How nice, along with everything else. And by no effort, I don't mean no bodily effort. I mean no effort by me. That's how it always is. But me then adds on, well, I did that. I'm trying. I'm working hard. Always claiming. Claiming. Life doesn't mind if you claim, that this life is yours or not. Whether you claim it or not, life couldn't give a shit either. Because it's not recognizing you in the first place. Don't ask me how I know that. I don't know that. It just seems obvious. Why would life be interested in the illusion that you're in control of the body that you've called you? That's liberation.
it's made it in the first place?
Well, you could say
Seemingly.
it seems that way, but no, nothing's made.
Feels so free, doesn't it?
Making is a process. You know, there's no process to get this. You know, to get here, for this to be this as it is, we have to tell a story of how it came to be. Well, this didn't come to be, it just simply is. It's not that it wasn't and then it is. It's that it is and it isn't. Always. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I know what you mean though, James. Yeah, in the story, of course, we have to talk about process.
Yeah. I mean, you said, why would oneness or why would everything care?
Mm.
Well, that's a process too, so I get where you're coming from.
Mm. Yeah. And all the caring is because I care. You know, that's why we have to infer that there's a higher power. You know, we've made God in our own image. Because I care, God must care. Because I care, Mother Nature must care. There must be a great me, a grand me, a super me who's really in charge. Because the idea or the whole notion of freedom, wild, anarchic freedom, without any purpose or meaning, is unthinkable to me. It can't be that way. I say. Me says, well, that can't be so. This can't be empty of meaning and empty of hope and empty of purpose. It can't be. And that's because I am is full of that. I'm full of that. I am is full of shit. The thing, and I will say, so it sounds as though this is hopeless and meaningless and purposeless, because I say, you know, it's the absence of all those things. But the absence of hope isn't hopeless. Hopeless is the opposite of hope. And so hopeless needs hope in order for hopeless to be a thing. And it's not a thing. This isn't hopeless or hopeful. This isn't meaningless or meaningful. It's neither. It's just as it is. We bring all of that, all of the meaning. So because I remember hearing this message from Tony, particularly, about hopeless, this is hopeless, and feeling so negative, so down, you know, it's an unbearable thought. But hopeless is the opposite of hope. And in the absence of hope, hopeless is gone as well. Because all of those words only have significance in the dichotomy, in the polar opposites. And that's how me works, in opposites. So this doesn't have an opposite. And this doesn't recognize. So this wouldn't recognize hope or hopeless is what I mean. Life is neither. Nor meaningless. Absence of meaning isn't meaningless. Without meaning, meaningless becomes meaningless. Without hope, hopeless is meaningless. It doesn't mean anything. without purpose, there's no purposelessness, you could say. Purposelessness. Oh, that's a tricky word to say. Oh dear. I think I better stop there. I'm making up words now. But why? Yeah, okay, I'll leave it there. So, has anybody got anything they'd like to say? Any questions? Or anything you'd like to share?
Hi, Tim.
Hi, Anne.
Good to see you.
And you. By the way, that was lovely what you wrote today.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's a brand new thing for me writing. It's just
I know. Well, I think you might. you shouldn't stop. Anyway, it's shouldn't. There we go. You wrote something really lovely. Anne wrote something, and the crux of it was. Oh, let me remember. Oh, it's gone, Anne. Remind me.
It was about basically staying in an ashram and the disillusionment of.
Of course, disillusionment. Yeah.
Yeah, disillusionment.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really nice, but I don't know if it'll stay because the art thing happened, didn't it? All of a sudden, I started painting.
Yeah.
Never really painted before.
Yeah.
And that got dead too. So I don't know if writing will continue. We'll see. We'll see what happens, but it'd be nice if it does.
But it's a lovely word. It's a lovely word, disillusionment, Anne.
Oh God, yeah, I love it.
There isn't a path to what we're talking about. But of course, if there was, disillusionment would be a good word for it. Because it's the death of illusion. You know, the death of all my hopes, my dreams, my fantasies of what could be, all my illusions of how I could be fulfilled.
Mm.
Which, you know, the illusion that I can make myself complete. Yeah. And that's a dreadful, in the process, seemingly, of disillusionment, it can be dreadful.
Yeah. I mean, you were saying earlier about, I better stop, I'm making up words. And I just thought, the thought just came like, it doesn't matter if you make up words because all words are meaningless anyway.
So true.
They're so irrelevant, and it's just real, dawning on me more and more that you can just say anything about this.
Yeah, anything.
you can just sit there and reel off anything because
anything.
it's all it.
Well, you might have noticed, Anne, that is what I seem to be doing on a Monday and Thursday.
I know, but I used to think you were really clever, Tim.
Used to think I was a clever clogs.
I used to think you were very clever and very enlightened.
I am very clever, of course I am.
But now I know that you just, talking's just
talking rubbish.
Just talking anything, and it's all, it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah. Well, one of the wonders of this is that it's nothing about being clever. How good is that? That's great.
Well, that's very good because I'm definitely not clever.
Yeah, on the cleverness scale, if we're talking academically, I was just above average. And so I'm guessing that I'm just above average still on the intelligent quotient.
You've gone down a bit, I think.
Maybe I've lost some, I don't doubt, James.
Oh, sorry.
Of course, this is all lost. So I must have lost some of my intelligence.
I'm just kidding.
But of course, non-duality being sounding clever, just like Anne thought she thought I was clever, because it can sound as though, well, if whoever's speaking that sounds some clever shit he's coming out with. He must be clever. No, not at all. Au contraire. You could be, this isn't interested in cleverness at all. This, yeah, clever, not clever. I do think there are many human beings right now who have a who are completely in liberation, you could say, or who get this without any knowing of what they've got at all and would never say a word about it. It's nothing to do about what you say. It's just that this character likes the sound of his own voice and finds it very hard to shut the fuck up. And that's the truth. I've always loved speaking. So somebody asked me the other day, why do you speak? I went, that's all I do. That's all I've ever done. I can't shut up. Yeah, my school reports were just full of, if he could shut up for a minute, he might learn something. And that kind of thing. Well, and thinking that I'm really funny, of course. There's that as well. Well, they're equally true. But
no, you are actually quite funny, Tim, now and again.
I'm quite funny. That's years.
That's improved.
That, you think I'm funnier than I used to be? Anyway. But so every human being is just as they are. They're just not who they think they are, who they feel they are, who they believe they are. Because nearly every human being believes they're me. And everyone else is not them. Because they're separate. That's all we're talking about, really. I mean, it's just ridiculously simple. That's simply not true. Everything else you could say is equally true and false, equally real and unreal. But me is an illusion, a delusion, a lie, whatever word you prefer, rather than the solid conviction that I've taken myself to be. I take myself to be absolutely real. I'm the most real thing, me. When me is the center of the universe, everything revolves around me. I am this solid known center. That's what we're talking about. That's not real. Even if it feels real. So has anyone got a question they'd like to ask me? Or anything you'd like to share? Mm.
To me, this sounded very scary.
Yeah.
Just talking. No one to check what's coming out of my mouth.
No. Yeah. To me, it sounds scary, Matt, but there is really nothing to fear.
No.
But for me, there is.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing Matt, the me of Matt fears being ridiculed, being saying something stupid, making a fool of himself, all the common things that self-consciousness, and this self-consciousness, this illusion that I am aware of myself, and therefore others can see me. Now, Matt, have you ever seen another me?
No. No.
Well, there you go.
And I noticed it's just one small step from being scared into a wild.
Yeah, exactly. It is. It's tiny. It's yeah.
It's nothing.
No, and there it actually is nothing. There isn't going from one to the other actually. So it's even less than a small gap. It's even less than there isn't actually a going from me to no me.
So how the fuck does that happen?
I exactly, nothing happens, Matt. I know. This is where it gets really stupid and incomprehensible and nonsensical. There is no going from me to the absence of me. There isn't any going from to. Just as you've tried, as you've really hit the nail on the head there when you say there's this tiny gap and then, well, maybe there's no gap at all. Well, there is no gap because there is no you to then disappear. So the absence of yourself and the presence of your illusion of self, there is no difference. Don't get me wrong. So, so there is a sense of difference. I say there's a difference, but you've already noticed, or there's been a noticing that that difference is tiny, and it might be that. So when there's no difference, there is no you then.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So if I tell you the story of Tim, there was no noticing when Tim had gone because there was no Tim to go. So nothing was noticed. All there was a hell of a lot of space and emptiness. If you've heard me speak before, I just said to my brother day after day, he'd say, well, how are you today? Because I'd been going through despair and torment as me felt it was dying. And then when that stopped, seemingly, there wasn't anything in its place. And all I could say to him every day, he'd say, how are you? And I'd go, empty. And he said, I know. I say, yeah, but how are you? I went, no, it's everything. It's just empty. It's just emptiness. And then and then that was for weeks and weeks. It was just like that, it seemed. And then, of course, I'm telling a story here, but then seemingly getting used to the emptiness.
It's everything.
Gets used to it. But then, I mean, this is where it gets silly telling stories about emptiness. But the only sense I could make out of course, it was empty because I used to fill it all. And in contrast to me filling life with me and my story and my fears and my anxiety and my desires and all of me, when that didn't appear, in the non-appearance of all of that shit, there was just this massive space. Life was just incredibly spacious. And that's just how it is. Spacious.
Yeah.
And by spacious, I mean everything is spacious. So all the objects are space as well. So as well as being what they are, they're also completely empty. So there isn't actually a difference between the space between objects. The space between objects and the objects are one and the same. So you could say space appearing solid.
Yeah, wow.
And yeah, so inside empty and outside is empty. And so there's no separation between the inside and the outside. In fact, there is no inside and outside. When there's only emptiness, there's no inside and outside. You know, it's just, there's no looking, you don't have to look for that. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
But of course, I always said I was full of me, wasn't I? I was full of myself. In English, that's quite a nice phrase, because in English, I was accused of that quite a lot as a character. Oh yeah, that Tim Cliss, yeah, he's a bit full of himself. Which is interesting, because now there's no self. He's more full of himself than he ever was before. Oh, you have to laugh. There we go. One of the reasons to speak about this, or why this is worth sharing, because it's really not worth sharing, but it is, just through compassion, it's worth sharing, because life is so much easier without me. Without the illusion that, you know, I was a pain in the ass. Don't get me wrong, I was a pain in the ass, and other me's might still call me that. But what I mean is, I was a pain in the ass to me. That's why this is worth talking about. I would, if you get even, if this resonates and you get a taste of it, and you think, oh yeah, this is really beautiful, it's worth sharing, share it. Only share it with other selves who you get a sense are open to it, who ask you. Don't share it with everyone, because you get a smack in the face. But share it. It's the only compassion, as Tony would say. It's beautifully compassionate for no one. But it's compassionate for humanity. It's compassionate for human beings. Most human beings live a life of quiet misery, as someone once said. I like that phrase. Of quiet despair, of quiet misery. You know, don't get me wrong, virtually no one knows, other than their self, how miserable and despairing they are. You know, they're going to work and they're functioning. Most human beings seem to be able to function like that for a long time. But it's horrible, isn't it? You wouldn't have come here. You wouldn't have come here if you didn't know that, if you didn't recognize that. But of course, it's an incredibly frustrating message as well, because there's nothing you can do about it. That's the really shit bit. What do I do then, Tim? Well, what can I do? Well, you can do anything or nothing. Makes no difference. You never did anything or nothing. So, so there we go. But isn't it lovely just to throw all the paths and all the journey and all the methods and all the practices and all the things you might do to get where you want to get to just throw them on the scrap heap, to incinerate them, to just discard them? Wouldn't it? Isn't that lovely? Or is that just me? I think it's lovely. you know, just to not have any self-improvement program anymore. You don't have to make notes about, you know, I can do, I always think of the Fitbits, you know, the wristwatches with the how many steps you've done. And people, you know, just one way that people can feel that they're making progress in their life and getting somewhere by walking more steps per day. Have you ever heard anything so ludicrous? That you are becoming a better human being and you're having a better life by walking more steps each day. What the hell? Isn't that hilarious? Oh dear. I tried it, but I did it with Walker's crisps, seeing how many bags of crisps I could eat in one day, and each day tried to eat one bag more, and that seems to be working well. See if I can get through a 24 multi-pack in a day. I've got a terrible addiction to crisps.
Hello, Tim.
Hi, who's?
It's Herlof.
Lovely.
Hello. Hello.
Every time I see you now, I have to tell you I love you.
Yeah, I love you too. So now you can. Let's see here. Now you can see me. No, I think you can see me. Oh no, yeah. I don't. No, we don't. It doesn't matter. Sorry, Tim.
Go on.
I'm always. I have always. I think many non-dual teachers and it's always, you know, when the me dies, that it's terrible and you lose everything, and but it's often a dramatic story.
Yeah.
I think, you know, like I just lost all my money and I just lost all motivation, and it doesn't have to be that way, does it? It doesn't have to be like negative, dramatic.
No.
I think I have, you know, had that in my mind that, oh, I have to, as long as I keep earning more money, then I'm not on my way. I have to earn less, you know.
No, it's all irrelevant. The problem with telling a story, if you're speaking about this, if you tell your story, then of course it's just heard as, oh, that must be the way it goes. That's the way it must be. Yeah, and there's seemingly a problem with that, in that it will have to be like that for me as well. Now, of course, there is no way it will be or can be anyway. And of course, remember, the main thing to bear in mind, Herlof, doesn't matter, but it's worth bearing in mind, it doesn't happen. So right now, Herlofsen does not have a me, does not have a self running Herlofsen and his empire of hotels. That is all happening. That is all happening by itself. Or you could say the body mind called Herlof is doing all that, but not you. There isn't a master controller, a manager in the middle of Herlof doing all that.
Yeah, and I actually in the main, I think you know, things are running better, you know, because it's not so much panic attacks and you know, it's like it's more calm. It's more like,
that's lovely.
I don't care so much.
Yeah, well, it doesn't have to be dramatic. Like you say, it doesn't have to be terrible. It doesn't. It just so happens in my story it was. In some other stories it is. But then I would guess, if this, say it could just happen, because anything can happen. You've never heard this message. Well, you would never mention it to anyone, would you? Everything would just be easier and lighter, as you just said. And you're only comparing stories if you've been to non-duality meetings and you've heard other stories. Yeah.
Thank you.
There isn't any way, right? There is no liberation. There is no one who is liberated. Nothing happens. And so that nothing happening can be anyway.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, by all means, keep making lots more money, Herlof. This is nothing about the way life is. You know, how it appears. It appears how it appears, and yeah, it can be any way at all. Of course. I mean, I still like it's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. I always loved that. That phrase or that analogy. But he wasn't talking about material wealth. Well, and if Jesus was talking about that, that's not how I always heard it. It was about my, that everything about me, my beliefs, my self-image, my self-importance, they're the riches that me holds most dear, my specialness.
I was thinking that it's no better or worse to say that I am a rich person than to say that I am a poor person. That's just the same richness.
Yeah, exactly. Well, when there's no one, there's no self to actually have them. Of course, it's seen that there aren't really any. There is material poverty and wealth, of course. And even in this story, if self falls away, there might still be a desire to be politically active, or to try and bring greater equality. You might still be politically motivated. I'd be surprised if you were, and you might still be motivated to become really super wealthy. There's no rules. As I said at the beginning, really, this is the end of rules. There's no rules. How would nothing have rules? What would they look like? Rules are always for me, so that I can say I'm righteous. Or I can break the rules and say, look what a bad boy I am, what a bad girl I am, just the same. So if I'm an anarchist and I break all the rules, that's riches. That's me saying, oh, look how non-conformist I am, Me loves that just the same. It doesn't matter. Me's not interested in what image I have, as long as I have a solid image of myself. That's when me feels secure, in that I know who I am. And that's why this message is a threat to most selves, because it's saying, no, you have no idea who you are. There's no one to know who you are, and there isn't anything to know. You are no more than your accumulated ideas and images of yourself. That's what self is. There isn't anything. As Matt was alluding to earlier, there's a wafer gap between that emptiness that is, you could say, is real, and the illusion that I am real. In the absence of the illusion that I am real, there is just, you won't know, you won't be able to say. There's just, I don't know, alive emptiness full of love, nothing and everything, All of those are futile attempts to say what is, what this is. There's no, you won't know, and yet it's completely known. There's no knowing what this is. There's no knowing what life is, but it's impossible to not be known. It's all there is. So the completeness is the known, and the emptiness is there's no possibility of knowing what that is. And they're not two. So how can completely known and no possibility of knowing be equally true? Well, there you go. That's how it is.
What
And we're not talking hands.
Yes, what a right. It's to hold on this fucking horse. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really, I'm blown. Not I'm blown away. This is blowing me away. You know, the me away. You know, it's not only mind blowing. It's me blowing.
Me blowing.
Yeah.
This is me blowing. I'm loving that.
Amazing. I'm really, wow. Yeah, thank you very much. Really,
Thanks, Hans. You're welcome.
yeah, that's I feel very much. It's amazing to be welcomed in this, and I'm so grateful, thankful for it that this is happening. Wow.
Thanks, Hans. By the way, it's not happening, Hans. Don't forget that. I'm joking. It's happening and not happening. What the hell? What's happening, Marcus? Well, that's happening. Is it happening? No. Yeah, it's happening. No, nothing's happening. That's what happening is.
Yeah.
What the hell? But the beauty is, of course, there's no questions. That's the essence of what we're saying. What is the peace that passes all understanding? What the hell was Jesus on about? Stop asking your damn stupid questions to life. That's it. The peace that passes all understanding is there's no questions. Is this unquestionably?
But then these are also no answers, really. This is
exactly. But you only need answers if you've got questions, Hans.
Yeah.
The need for answers come from the questions. This doesn't require questioning. It is.
Yeah.
As it is. That's it.
Yeah.
It's unquestionable. And it might just become obvious that all the questions that you've answered, all the answers that you've worked so hard to get, and I know you've been working hard to get answers. I worked my arse off to understand this. Hence, I'm so verbose and full of shit. I did a lot of reading. I watched every teacher that you could ever watch on YouTube 100 or 1,000 times. And until there was complete exhaustion, and it was starkly, brutally obvious right in my face that I had got absolutely nowhere.
No what?
Nowhere. I hadn't traveled an inch towards this.
It's amazing.
I hadn't got any closer. Of course, there is no closer.
Yeah.
And then me went, oh shit. Fucking hell. Looks like I'm done for. Because without questions, what am I? What am I without my questions and answers? What am I without my knowledge and my understanding? What am I if I don't know who I am? What if I don't, and what I've accumulated, all my accumulated knowledge and understanding is shown up for what it is. And what it is completely empty. Empty of any value. It's worthless. That's the poverty that we're talking about. All your knowledge, all your understanding, all of your work to move forward, to get closer, wherever you've made up and fantasized where you might get to, it might just dawn that you never moved anywhere. This does not move. Life is absolutely still. Life is absolutely empty. And there in that wondrous, which can't be known, that stillness and emptiness, there is everything. Moving, singing, dancing, flying, jumping, shitting, drinking, smoking. Everything, everything beautiful and ugly, and there it is. It's all empty, and it's all still. Well, how? Well, you'll be lost for words. I'm not lost for words. Obviously, that's obvious. I'm not lost for words, but there is. I have been. You might be shocked to know that I have been lost for words, because. But I like. It's lovely to be able to. I love sharing it, or you know.
Yeah.
It would seem seems wrong not to share it, really. It's not. It makes no difference. But there's a, you know, love wants to be shared. There you go. It does. There. Okay. Well, I've gone a little over time, but I've thoroughly enjoyed it. Sorry I was late. I got a bit overexcited, but that's no bad thing.
Not at all.
And,
oh, great.
And, you're all welcome to come on Thursday.
Yeah.
I'm thinking the following week, I'm going to go away and see some friends. So I probably won't have any Zoom meetings next week. So Thursday I'll have a Zoom meeting. Then the following week I won't have any. But it'd be great to see you on Thursday if you'd like to come. And
I really love you.
if you've enjoyed it and you'd like to give a contribution, then you can via PayPal. PayPal.me/Tim Cliss to pay for my holiday. It's a very low budget holiday. I don't need much, to be honest. I'm off to Cornwall. If you've never been to the West Country in England, then I recommend it. I think it is the Garden of Eden. There is the Eden Project down there, but I think it is God's country. It's as beautiful as anywhere in the world, I'm sure. I haven't been everywhere in the world, but if you've been to Cornwall, it is stunning. So that's where I'm off to next week. So hopefully see you Sunday.
Yeah, thank you.
Not Sunday, not Sunday, not Sunday, Thursday.
Thursday.
Thursday at 7.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you,
Bye,
Tim.
Tim.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Tim.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. Thank you. Bye.